Right, so now comes the tricky bit. We have to cut the lock body. And because this is from Mr. Richard for Saunson Security, I'm not going to cut a crappy grey one for him. I like to do the red ones. This is the last red one I've got. I really like the red or even a black one for this because you get more of a contrast. You know, you got to get a light in there, and the reflection of this isn't really going to cut the mustard for you. So we're going to do that. It is actually, oh, could be red or pink. Oddly enough, you put some WD-40 on and it becomes pink. So I'm going to make sure that I've got it the right way round first. Um, let's just look at the anatomy first. When you look at this, your cylinder goes in that way, right? So your screw holds it. Let me find something to turn it. Your screw holds that up on that side, but your lock body holds it on this side. So you don't want to go too much this way. You also don't want to go too much this way because then you're going to be cutting through the end bit, which is quite thick. Another thing to look out for is the depth here. So when you're doing your cut this way and this way, you're going to have to go slower. And of course, over here, along here, you're going to have to go slower. So if you're using another lock, which you probably are, make sure you got that right. I can't get the actuator out of these. I'm going to just leave it in and hit it with brake fluid. And then drill a hole roughly there. And then use your pen to mark off on your cylinder where that hole is and measure out from there. So, you know, you can use your drill press for that hole. But fortunately, I have dimensions because I've done a few of these. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off that one onto this one, making sure they're in the same orientation. And I'm going to use one of these, but you can use any ruler. I just like these because it can get a good square. You know, if you're using a ruler, it's around where you're going to measure from. You can also use your square for that. So I'm leaving enough gap for the marker. It might do it. Yeah, we changed it. It moved. It moves. They do that, you know. Things like to move. And you see, that is why you really want your machine set up real square, real nice and square. So that I'm going to mark. Now I've got tons of these. And I'm going to see if that line, because we are cutting on the line, going to be a little bit wide. So I'm going to cut inside the line. And we do the same for the top. Let me move this. It's obviously tricky to do this on camera. So now I'm going to do a cut inside the line measurement on all of them. Because if I draw a line there, actually we're going to be cutting from the center of the line. But, bloody hell, there it did its own thing. I didn't tighten it. Such a pain sometimes to get these right. Lock it up this time. Not like last time. Then it just moves and we don't want that. My oiling holes are also a good reference. So I can kind of just see with the eye, with the oiling hole here and here, that I'm pretty much on the correct track. Like I don't really hit a huge accuracy on this. You know, you want a window. The trick is, the only trick is to get your window as big as possible without destroying. You can see that's a bit skewed because the machine wasn't hundreds set up properly, nicely. Well, it's not bad actually. So let's hold them together and ensure. Always be checking. What do they say? Measure twice, cut once. I'm a bit more of a measure no times and just cut kind of guy. But I guess with this milling and lathing and stuff, you kind of got to measure, which sucks. I'm not fond of that. So I got all the measuring dials and everything here, and all our micrometers and what do they call them? Dial indicators and all sorts of stuff. I'm telling you, it's doing my nuts, trying to just do the maths to get this stuff right. I don't like that. I'm too impatient. You know that's a big issue here. Is I'm just too impatient. So I don't much like to. So that goes through the center of the R. I'm not a precision work guy. You know these guys that make these custom picks. So their window kind of looks the same. I think we're going to be okay there. We do have a mold, so we can. That one must be on the line. That one, I think, a little bit inside the line, and we're going to sort of remember that. So let's take this puppy apart. And these are also nice because I, at a point, over tightened these retaining nuts. And on my Americans, and that kind of stripped them. So, and on the master, I also did the master badly. And so I got spare bolts and nuts. That wasn't very clever, was it? But okay, we're going to put that aside because that matches those keys. I use these to make matching keys locks, and they work nicely for that. Do enjoy it, and because our Gemini gate motors take two. So back to the mill. Now comes the funky bit. I'm still going to use the. I'm going to move that back so I can actually use the. Now notice something. If you put it in this way, your machine is not going. Oh, it actually is. It's got the reach to do it. And if I put it in that way, it's got the reach to do it. So I think you want to center that. Now I'm going to get it mostly level. Again, we're just eyeballing stuff. And like I said, put a bit more pressure on this. Now, we're going to use a 1.5. I've got a 2, I've got a 2.5, 3, up to 6. And we're going to just, again, spot the corners. Because, like I said, these controls, right, are opposite to the lathe. So I get confused with the handle. So before I do anything, I'm going to get it in position. What do we say? We can go a bit bigger there. But I think that's golden. On that line, we want to have a bit of. I already went in the wrong direction there. I'm going to tighten this a bit because the high handles aren't exactly counterweighted. So now I'm going to go in that direction, right? So I'm going to lock that up. Double check. Do another one. Come back. Now you notice I'm going through there and I'm going to move a bit back. So the reason for doing that is to just make a corner, a nice 90-degree corner, because it's very easy to get these controls mixed up. And then you kind of overshoot a corner and you have to cut that back. And do you understand what I mean? So it just your hole starts slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is what happened with the other one, because I didn't nicely spot the corners like this and get them. Just I'm making little squares on each corner, so I can just move along the lines in the middle. We're not going to mill out the whole thing. There's no point. I have noticed movement halfway through there, so I'm being very aware of that. And so it's back to the tools. Now, you're going to see me making these first passes and these first, can you see I've got that lateral movement when that is loose. And so, obviously I haven't set this up properly. So we're just going to fasten that up a bit. And hopefully it hasn't affected our centering. Suppose we'll find out soon enough. Right, that movement seems to be gone. I'm going to snug it up a little bit more, I think, on this side. I'm not using oil on this. And the reason for that is I want to be able to see what's going on here. And then every time I move one of these handles, I move the whole table, obviously. And so I retract a bit before moving moving the handle. And the reason for that is I want to see exactly which direction I'm going in, because again, like I mentioned, I get confused in the directions, you see. So now we're just going to get ourselves onto here. Where are we going? All right. And then I'm just creating a guideline. I have to go in that direction. So the oil is actually going to wash off your markings. So that's what we wanted there, is some nice corners already made. And now I can oil up and start just a little bit slowly moving across. And I think because we got this plane right, we're ready to go that way. I think we're ready to go on that line. It is, remember, going through that center bit, so we really have to be a little bit quick or clear, slow on that. Now, what happens is these flutes with aluminium, because there's four of them, excuse me, they get blocked up. So we have to keep cleaning them with a little brush, even a toothbrush. Just keep it clean. Otherwise, they'll get blocked up. You could see when we are drilling, it reaches a point where it can't go in anymore. That's because they can't evacuate the material, and that's the problem. you're on the floor. So we are now through there. Thanks to the camera, save for a few spots. And what happened is, because of that wandering, this travel was off a little. We had a bit of an unneat finish. That's why, again, no lubrication. I'm just going through to clean it. Now, it remains an opinion of mine that if you're using the full length going slowly, you're not putting as much axial force on the bit itself at a 1.5 mil bit. You're using a bigger bit and you're obviously skimming ahead, you're going to go slowly over it. So I'm trying to just do a plunge cut, cut back, plunge cut. Like, I'm just experimenting because, quite honestly, you know what? A lock body is a lot more. Right, so we had a moment there where both Mike's batteries went flat, and but we're back, and we are talking about the lock body being a lot more expensive than the bit itself. Get this mic back on. Here we go. So I rather experiment a bit around with that. So what I was trying to do is on the bigger stuff is actually dig it in and then come back. Now, if you look at this piece of kit, it's very much doing the same thing that over there. And that thing's sole purpose in life is to cut out it's a door lock mortise cutter. And it just cuts out, and that's how I do it. I kind of do it in a plunging motion, digging away at the wood. It's not quite how milling works. So, but we are using the soft material, so it's not the end of the day. With that steel, I'd be a little bit more, yeah, let's stick to how it should be done. So we cut through there, and we're back on, and I've in interim made a high-speed steel cutting bit to make some lock pins. That's been my challenge to get that. That's now 1.8 mils or something. Just getting a high-speed steel bit cut out for that purpose. I've got the tungsten carbide, but not so, I don't know so much the RPMs for it. Nonetheless, so back to this. Where were we? We were over here. I'm now going to do the difficult M in line. So we're gonna tackle the difficult bit. Yeah. Get some oil on there. Blow it off first. Oh, there goes the light. Oh, that actually looks better. Let's see where we're at with this cut. That doesn't look too bad at all. I'm starting to sense some victory here. So quite possibly should have taken that screw out. So I'm going to do that now, if I can. Which way does this go? Like that. Obviously the key bit isn't going to want to settle in. Come on, pop for me. Thank you. Now that can go. Get that out of the way at a bare minimum. Put that aside in a safe place. Next bit, what you want to do is just get your lock in there. And see how it's performing, how it looks. So what do we got here? Yes, you can see pretty much everything. You don't want too much overlap on either side here, at the top or at the bottom. Everything looks kind of clean and neat. This still has a lip to rest up against. I might have gone a bit far there, but that's okay. And so I'm going to get that out. That's the wrong one. And give it a whack with brake cleaner. That works quite well. And we are done with the little bit that could. It's now done 2 locks. And I think quite successfully. So we've now got there. I'm just going to give it a bit of a tidy. You can see it will look a bit rough until you give it just a bit of a file down. As well as just deburr the edges. Oh, if there's one thing I hate do, that's filing any steel. You know, I know guys can do this with files and they're doing all the, we just overrun a bit there. I can live with that. I'm too lazy to do that. I'm just way too lazy to sit and file away that stuff. I like machines. They make my life easier. That's not bad though. A bit of an edge to it, so we'll have to attend to that. Probably should do this on a, these don't scratch so easily. But oh, make sure he's going to give itself a good clean. There you have it. What do we do with the plug? That'd be grand. We lost the whole plug that goes in. It's here somewhere. You guys see we are. There it is. Oh, the amount of things that go missing under this lathe is uncanny. Let's put that in. In fact, let's get the screw in. And assemble up a bit. Where's your cap, mister? Get in there. These guys go in like that. You guys know that. This is where you end up stripping them, eh? But you guys know that too. I have to back it off. I'm bringing a bit of resistance. Back it off a bit. Now we just need a key. We need a lot more than a key because we're going to check the action. Give it a shut. Now you can see there's very little play of that core in there. I have gone a bit high there, but it's sufficient. There you have it, guys. Successfully replicated that. Same process. I mean, look at our total cost just to produce just one, $78. I mean, you really, to me, that's just what makes sense. Rather spend that $78. Just be careful of that. You see, that one is held in a bit better, but that one isn't. But when you do, every time you learn, within time you'll be doing this like a pro. Where's our cylinder gone? Obviously, we need to put some keys in it, or some pins. That helps, eh? It's not affecting anything. And yeah, I'm loving it. So I'm going to pin it up and send it off. Pretty much ready to go. What I may do is take that one, put in this one. I don't know. I quite like it just how it is. But there you see, that's our only You got to watch for the two things to watch for: that clearance there, and clearance there. Yeah, you should be okay. And that's it, guys. Practice lock. Well, practice lock, cutaway lock. Done for very little. Thanks for watching. Please